My neighbors are yelling and acting a fool today, so we shall see how far we get. Those of you who watched my last video, I shared about my decision to quit my job and travel, and today we're going to be doing the numbers related to all of that. I'm excited to share the math. I want you to keep in mind that we may have a lot of similarities in some choices and differences in others. I don't want that to dissuade you from doing this practice for yourself. Do your own numbers and find what you're comfortable with, and there's no issue at all. For those of you who are new around here, my name is Juanita, aka the Caramel Yogi, and for those of you who are not new around here, thank you so much for coming back. It's always a great time talking to you. So now let's get into facing the finances. It's important to get real about your personal finances, so that means your living expenses, your fixed costs, any kind of lifestyle extras, and then really do like a lifestyle audit of what you're doing, what you want to do, and really have a full picture. I do want to note that I planned my sabbatical and move around my budget, so it was more of like a finances first approach as opposed to, we'll just give it a name, destinations approach one. The finances first, it's more, I knew my budget from the practice we're about to share, and then selected the countries and like related expenses around that budget with room for my safety net. And if I did like a destinations first approach, I would have chose all the places and then built the budget around that. So just for you to keep in mind. In building my safety net, what made this decision very feasible to me was the fact that I had a substantial savings. So I opened a high yield savings account with, I think it's Goldman Sachs Marcus. So I have a high yield savings account. It just has a higher savings rate, interest rate, than my typical bank that I use for like my checking and savings. And I was really feeding into that intentionally for 2 years because I had planned to buy a house. Luckily, none of my offers were accepted. It was a very competitive market in New Jersey. And thank God for that, because I wouldn't be able to go on this whole adventure. So very intentional savings, again, in a high yield savings account. And then the other thing was becoming debt free. While I was saving, I was paying down student loan debt and things like, new computer, new phone. Like I paid all of those things off. So there's no reoccurring payments in my life outside of like utilities, a cell phone bill, so on and so forth. I do want to reinforce that you don't have to be debt free to do all these things or have a high yield savings account. I just do find that it made this whole thing a lot easier. Having the savings, being debt free, gave me the confidence to even try the sabbatical thing out. And I knew I had a budget I was comfortable with. If you have no savings or say a smaller one, I do recommend that you take the time to build something up, because things do in fact cost money, and it's important to have as good of a foundation as possible. This was probably like my favorite part of the budgeting: cut versus keep. Finances need honesty. This is the part where you take a hard look at what's truly worth keeping in your life and things that you won't regret getting rid of or kind of rehoming, depending on what it is. It's not about sacrifice, it's about clearing for what really matters. So starting with your life as is right now, I want you to make a list of things you can keep, like you want to keep, it's a non-negotiable, and things that you can cut and not regret later. For example, I could do without most subscriptions like Spotify, Netflix. I just canceled my Pilates membership, so that's not extra money in the bank, but that's something that's not taking away from my travel fund. Something I was not going to touch, so this is a non-negotiable, was my retirement accounts. I'm not even factoring it into the money I can spend. That's truly just something I want to keep hands off and growing. Time is on my side, so nothing's going to touch that. Something to keep in mind: if you decide to quit your job but you want to stay in your apartment or keep your Pilates membership, do know that when the paychecks stop, you will still be responsible for making those payments on time or making those payments. And that's just some food for thought when you're considering what you want to keep, what you want to let go. You can always find other alternatives. And a quick disclaimer, before I dive in, I want to be super clear that I won't be sharing my personal actual account balances because we need some privacy. I don't want my whole business on the internet. But here's the good news: you can still use this practice for yourself. What I really want to do is give you a blank slate, a way to start taking inventory of your numbers before you make a big financial decision. So now let's get into what I'm calling the exit equation. I think I'm going to move over slightly. So First things first, our baseline. This is our final paycheck snapshot. Checking and savings accounts, what's liquid, like what can I pull out immediately. We have our retirement accounts. These are long-term and not to be touched, but I still want to slightly account for them. I don't want to use them, but it's good to have an inventory. And then any other assets, I'm thinking here like stocks. I don't think I'll personally touch it, but good again to list here. You're gonna sum this up and this will be your starting line. So now we're entering our liabilities. These are things that will still follow you as you enter your sabbatical, grown-up gap year, so on and so forth. You'll have your rent or mortgage if that is still in place. For example, I'll be leaving my apartment complex, so I will not have any rent to continue paying for in my sabbatical year. Then we have debt payments. These are things like your student loans, any kind of loan, credit card debt. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I did pay off all my debt last year. I do not have a number for this column. Then you'll have subscriptions, insurance that you may keep. So again, I'm getting rid of everything. When I quit my job, I will lose my insurance. That's something I'm adding into a later column. And then any fixed reoccurring bills that you can't cancel or don't want to cancel. For me, the cell phone bill falls under here. So I think I pay around $80 a month. So those kind of items will go here. You're going to subtract these and this will be your takeoff number. This is what's actually left to fund your venture. Now we have our prospective income and expected expenses right out the bat. I would include in here my security deposit that I would get back from making sure my apartment is returned clean in the way that it was brought to me. Any kind of freelance work. My disclaimer here is I don't spend money I don't have. And that seems extremely simple, but Klarna and Afterpay and all these systems wouldn't exist if people abided by that. What I want to make sure is clear is renters can break their lease. You can have clients that no longer need your services, and you yourself could move and change. So while it's good to make note of what you could earn freelancing, renting out homes, whatever, it's not money that's guaranteed. So we only want to work with the money that's in our account. Some anticipated expenses, I'm going to go kind of back and forth on these two. We have daily expenses, so that's food, activities, transit. We have lodging, so whether you're staying in Airbnbs or hotels or staying with family or house sitting, that all goes under here. For my lodging, food, and activities from January through August came out to about $13,344. I didn't opt for like hostels or staying with family for certain pieces. You may be able to get this number down, but this is what it was for me. And even with food, it was like an approximation. Transportation, this is flights, gas, commute sort of things. For me personally, I have a lot of flights going back and forth with the countries I'm visiting. So full year, $4,128. Connectivity, this is eSIMs, Wi-Fi. For me, this is coming to around $180. Travel insurance. I don't think I've made a video yet where I don't talk about travel insurance. I will be getting travel insurance. This is like health and trip protection. I'm in the middle of pricing some out. I'm ranging for my level of travel, $500 to $700. Again, I will not have my employer-backed insurance, so just kind of weighing all the things I feel like I personally need. But since I know I'm leaving, I'm having all my doctor's appointments and, you know, I'm getting a new retainer on Wednesday. So again, that'll be a whole other video. In terms of travel insurance, I'm leaning more till $700 just so I can get like a real number that I can prepare for. And then if you're going to sell stuff or put it in storage, I'm extremely anti-storage. If I can go that long without seeing my stuff or using my stuff, I don't want it. Everything here is being sold. Yeah, it's gonna be sold, it's gonna be donated. I want nothing to do with the storage unit. Again, another expense as well. You're gonna add and subtract all your prospective income and expected expenses, and this is going to equal how far your funds will stretch. Now we have the buffer. So this will be emergency fund for any kind of surprise costs. This can be a flex fund for changes in plans, and an exit cushion to land softly in your destination of choice. Say after your sabbatical or after your gap year, you want to come back home or you want to move somewhere else. That's where that fund's going to come in. I lovingly call this my peace of mind money. So this can all be one section of savings. You really don't have to separate it out as I did. And the key is to not touch these expenses unless the requirements are met. So this doesn't mean, oh, Bad Bunny is going to Japan, so I'm gonna go get tickets. This is for my Airbnb in Europe didn't have heat in winter, so now I have to make a last minute arrangement somewhere else. That's a true emergency. Okay, so now here we are at the actual exit equation. You're gonna take your baseline minus your liabilities minus your expected expenses, and this will give you your freedom balance. We are not done yet. We want to keep this as financially conservative as possible, so we want to set aside a buffer within the freedom balance. $10,000 freedom balance. We're going to set aside 20% as your buffer. So now we're really working with $8,000 for all of that travel, lodging, all those things we mentioned earlier. Again, that makes us work a little bit more responsibly with our money because we don't want to have $10,000 and spend $10,000 because say an emergency pops up, you need to make a change of plans. It's always good to factor in that buffer. I wouldn't travel without the buffer personally. And I'm sure you're asking, why are we ignoring the prospective income? Like, I sell bags, or I'm going to do this. I have this client. I'm ignoring prospective income because it's hypothetical. We have no guarantees of that money. And like, again, even selling my furniture, I have a number that I would like to get, but between haggling and people may not wanting my stuff, that money may not actually come to be. So it's hypothetical money. I'm sure you have a great business, a great service, but let's pretend that you won't get any money that year just so you can make your number as reliable as possible. For example, I am quitting my corporate 9-to-5, but I still plan to work as a travel agent as I'm doing now. I'm not incorporating any kind of income I'll make from that because it's not guaranteed. I love doing it. I'm good at it. I enjoy myself, but let's just pretend I'm in net zero. So any money I do generate from that, it really feels like a bonus and I can put that towards Bad Bunny tickets or something really fun and enjoyable, but I don't want to spend money that's not already in hand. I do not have plans to return stateside after my Eat, Pray, Love kind of adventure. Oh, and here's the takeaway. Running the numbers didn't just show me that I could afford this entire adventure, but it also showed me that my fear does not hold a candle to my reality, and it's very like confidence boosting. Some recommended reading for you. This is Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. I read this while on the river cruise. You can watch my video about that. This is fantastic for understanding how to, I don't want to say make your money work for you, but just kind of getting the most out of your finances. Is that what it says? Getting all you can from your money. Ah, yes. And I also have a free resource for you. I've made something called The Conscious Sabbatical. It's a guide and workbook where I go through not only the mentality you need or the mentality I felt like I needed to prepare for such a big life transition, but also the workbook of crunching all these numbers yourself. That'll be free and available to you, and I'll have that link in the description below. I'll make sure to link this too. This is my favorite book. My library didn't have this, so I did buy this. I will make sure to link one for you. I think everyone should own a copy. It's very much life-changing. And I'll be sharing the scariest part of this whole process, which was not the money. It was actually giving myself permission to do it. It was giving myself permission to walk away. If you like this video, be sure to like this video. Please subscribe so you can be here for when the next video drops. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.